You know, one thing, dog, that pisses me off about, and this isn't just, hip hop exclusively. It's online discourse, generally speaking, is that, you know niggas act dumb to look smart. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is that niggas act like two things can't be true at the same time. Hip hop being historically a genre that has been defined since Run DMC, right? Has been defined by that hyper black machismo. You understand what I'm saying? And thus being a breeding ground for, you dig what I'm saying? Misogyny, being a breeding ground for homophobia, being a breeding ground for all of these things, right? Being a woman, especially a black woman, trying to make waves in this space, you're already going to have a hand tied behind your back, at least, especially if and when your artistry and or your presentation is not sex. And I'm not even saying sexuality, but sex, actual sex, the actual act of knocking boots, when sex is not a primary component of your presentation and or artistry. And it gets me into this because one, so this is how and why I kind of know, you feel me, that people be on BS time, because now we're starting to do this revisionist narrative about, oh well, Nicki got respect. Nicki was on, this person's was featured on this track and this track and this, that, and the third thing and all the kind. So, all right. So, what you really going to sit up there and tell me? So, you really going to sit up there and try to argue that Nicki is the same type of rapper that Doechii is? Again, let's not play the revisionist history game. Nicki's appeal, the way that Nicki got her foot into the door was by appealing to the male gaze. That's what made Nicki a pioneer, is that she was the first one to take the video. She was video vixen and MC all in one neat, nice package. We've all seen the before and after photos. We all know what Nicki looked like in her Hood Stars days. You understand what I'm saying? There's a reason why Nicki went from a B to a double D cup. You understand what I'm saying? There's a reason why. If y'all, a lot of folk my age, our first introduction to Nicki Minaj was in that Gucci Mane video. I forget what it was, but she was the featured girl in that Gucci Mane. Nicki ain't had no ass in that video. You understand what I'm saying? Nicki didn't, and I'm just stating a fact. Nicki ain't have no ass until like Beam Me Up, Scotty. You understand what I'm saying? So that was her. Let's cut the BS and get right down to the brass tacks. The boys didn't give Nicki a seat at the table because they respected her artistry. Let's not play that game. The boys gave Nicki a seat because they wanted to hit. Let's keep it a buck. The boys gave Nicki a seat because they wanted to hit, and she knew that. She knew that was going to be her best route in. And once she got in, then she allowed her talent to do the talking. Once she was at the table, then that's when niggas started to recognize and say, oh, this girl can spit for real. You understand what I'm saying? She's not just tits and ass. She can actually go. So again, even if, because you can say, oh, well, Doechii has been here. Yes, we understand that. We get that. And we understand that Alligator Bites is worlds away from is worlds away from Swamp Princess and from all of, her previous era. We get that. But the way that she's being presented, she is being presented as the girl who made Alligator Bites Never Heals. She is being presented as the girl who made The Nile is a River. She is being presented as Missy Elliott. That's what she's being presented as the alternative to girly rap. That's what she's being presented as the alternative. All of y'all that's tired of listening to bands and booty meat bars, we got Doechii for you. Doechii on deck. You feel me? Doechii for all of the theater girls. You understand what I'm saying? Doechii for all of the I'm not like other girls. You understand what I'm saying? Doechii for all of the niggas who 20 years ago would have said that, you feel me, I'm a Lauryn Hill type of guy. You understand what I'm saying? That we got Doechii on deck for you. You understand? And that's the way that her handlers are pushing her. And again, it irks me to no end that some of y'all like to pretend and act like you don't see that. You understand what I'm saying? And furthermore, like to act like y'all don't understand how and why that can be detrimental to her rise. Folk make these critiques. It's impossible to make a good faith critique of certain artists, you feel me? Because now automatically, you understand what I'm saying? You become a hater. You become worse than a hater. You become, you feel me? In the case of Kendrick is, oh, well, you just don't get it, or you're not tapped in. You understand what I'm saying? In some way, shape, or form, insinuating or implying the fact that you're just too dumb to appreciate Kendrick's music. You understand what I'm saying? In Doechii's case, it's all, well, y'all just trying to keep a black woman down. Y'all always do this with dark skin girls. When Lil Sims and Flo Milli and Tierra Whack, you understand what I'm saying? When No Name, you dig what I'm saying? I remember a time when we were all sitting here thinking that No Name was going to get the push that Doechii is getting right now. You understand what I'm saying? I remember Missy Elliott. You understand? I remember Missy. As a matter of fact, and that's where I'm going with this, is that I don't care that I don't the whole it's the what she wants to do. Y'all saying, oh, well, why can't she do pop? Why can't she do this? Why can't she do that? She's an artist. An artist should be able to do whatever they want. All right, you can do whatever the hell you want to do. That don't mean that the audience is going to respond the way that you want them to. You understand what I'm saying? And that's the point that folk are trying to make when they give these critiques. You can do whatever you want to do as an artist, but perceptions matter infinitely more than realities do when it comes to the presentation of an act. Somebody put it perfectly on my community, I believe it was the community post, and they said the problem is that niggas don't like the feeling of being sold something. You understand what I'm saying? Even if that's not the reality, when there is a perception there that niggas are being sold something, especially if it's something that they're not inclined to gravitate to organically, they're going to push back again. We did this. This is why Macklemore fell off. Macklemore fell off because there was a conscious... Niggas ain't have a problem with Macklemore when he was sitting up there rapping, doing thrift shop and doing, his little novelty raps and, the handful of, SJW anthems or whatever. Niggas did not have a problem with Macklemore until he won that Grammy. And the reason why it was twofold. They already had an issue because it was transparent. It was the most cynical play at selling an artist, at pushing an artist as the next big thing that we have seen in a minute. And so niggas revolted on that, and then Macklemore ain't doing himself no favors. You think what I'm saying? By doing the absolute worst thing you can do, which is apologize for getting not only apologize, but make sure the entire world knows you apologized. And now he's stuck doing protest songs for Palestine in order to stay relevant. And don't tell me that that is not at least in part the motivation behind him doing Heinz Hall. Don't tell me it's not. Y'all hear what I'm saying? This is why Jack Harlow fell off. Jack Harlow fell off because he was every freaking where. I hadn't even heard a Jack Harlow song, and he doing Doritos, he doing Sprite, he doing New Balance, he got a whole doggone meal with KFC. And niggas were tired of Jack Harlow before they even heard a Jack Harlow track. Niggas do not like the idea of an artist being pushed as a product. And again, even if that's not the reality, and this is what I'm going to harp on, is that perceptions matter infinitely more than the reality does. So if there is a perception, even if it's not held, but if there is a perception out there that an artist is being, you feel me, stretched farther than their tendrils reach. And that's the thing I think is the problem with some of y'all, is that y'all are grossly overestimating the reach that Doechii has. You go into any black barbershop in America right now, niggas are not talking about Doechii. I can promise you that. Matter of fact, perfect example of this. If somebody said on the joint, said, oh well, you know, you should read the comments and you'll see how wrong you are. And my response to that was that, you know, your little 15 like comment, I don't know how many hundreds of likes there are on the actual video, right? But right now, I don't know what it is right now, but at the time, the video had a 98% positive to negative, like the dislike ratio. So again, y'all don't want to believe this, but y'all are a very vocal minority faction within the hip hop consciousness. You dig what I'm saying? And it resulted in, and it went sideways for the artist. And that's kind of what I'm getting at, because again, niggas don't actually listen so much as they be waiting for their chance to talk, especially when it comes to certain artists, specifically those artists that fall within that, you know, that art rap, theater rap sphere. Again, if you actually paid attention to what I was saying and weren't just waiting for your chance to retort, you would have heard why I said the Doechii problem isn't necessarily anything that Doechii is doing herself, or if it is, it's minimal. But the problem is niggas around her, whether willfully or unconsciously, failing to read the room. You understand what I'm saying? And that's her handlers and her fan base. Or not her entire fan base, but again, that vocal minority of the fan base that don't want to hear nothing besides how much you slurping up their feed. Something, and Man of 1,000 Thoughts, shout out to Man, made this point, and he said, you know, you got to realize that a lot of these folk, this is the first time that they have a semblance of control, right? A lot of these folk, you understand what I'm saying? They were the quote unquote, and this is as a self-described weirdo myself. A lot of these folk were, you know, the weirdos of their circles. You understand what I'm saying? They were the kids that didn't necessarily run with the popular crowd. They were the kids who, you understand what I'm saying? Their tastes weren't necessarily, their tastes weren't validated outside of their little circle of folk who shared their ideals. And now they have their moment. But the problem is, because they don't know what it's like to have a moment, now they showing their ass for the world to see. Not reading the room and recognizing that just because you're having a moment, just because the mainstream has dubbed this y'all's moment. And again, it ain't just Doechii fans. It's Kendrick fans. It's anybody who falls into that realm. And that's where, you feel me, the comparison to MF Doom came in. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of niggas didn't mess with Doom, not because of Doom himself, but because it's cooled down since, but a lot of his fans back in the day were assholes. You understand? We're pretentious dickheads. You understand what I'm saying? Who had this air about them as though their taste in rap music was so much more sophisticated, so much more, you understand what I'm saying, superior than that mindless turn up BS that y'all be listening to. And that turned a lot of folk off the Doom. You understand what I'm saying? Unfortunate for him. Because if it's true that word of mouth is the best form of marketing, y'all gonna mess around and mess that girl up. And that's part of the point, is that we getting at, is that Doechii has the talent. Doechii deserves more than just this moment, is what I'm saying. You understand what I'm saying? Doechii's talent is worthy of being in that conversation, you dig, with the boys. You understand what I'm saying? Not just in your little circle, but I'm talking about with in the general hip hop zeitgeist. Again, let's not play that game of Nicki is not spoken of in the same with the same reverence. Nicki is not near the same heights of the way that folk talk about Wayne and his peak. You understand? I'm trying to think of some contemporary on her own label. Wayne, you feel me? Drake. She's not spoken of in the same air or in the same light as those folks. So let's stop playing that game. Nicki is nowhere near the GOAT combo. But again, she's never going to be able to reach that potential if a significant portion of the audience has already written her off as a product of the system before they've even given her a chance. Niggas are not going to look into, her Swamp Princess era. Niggas are not going to look into her mixtape. Niggas are not going to dig that deep so long as folk keep insisting upon this idea that you just don't get it. Or it's because you don't get it because, you feel me, she's a girl, or because she's queer, or because you feel a certain type of way. Yes, we acknowledge that there is a portion of folk that's always going to feel that way, but then there's another portion of folk that are sitting here and taking a step back, looking at the macro picture and actually looking at, again, and this is something that I talk about all the time, is that niggas got to stop niggas got to stop talking about the world that we want and start engaging the one that we have, man. And this is just the way that the industry moves. This is just the way that niggas move within the culture. Niggas do not like to feel like they're listening to a product. All they're going to see is, oh, you put out this album and now you a Grammy winner. You won this Grammy and now you every freaking where. You dig what I'm saying? I remember when niggas was saying this about Freddie Gibbs. I remember when we was having a conversation about Alfredo versus, what was that, KD 2 or 3, and we were talking, and niggas was saying that Gibbs should have won instead of Nas. And then you had all of these niggas, talking about Gibbs, maybe not to the same degree, but and Gibbs has been around since the blog era. You understand what I'm saying? So again, niggas is not going to do the legwork. That's just the nature of the beast. Niggas is not going to do the legwork. Matter of fact, there was a significant portion of people back when College Dropout came out. Niggas felt like Kanye came out of nowhere, not realizing that he had been producing for some of their favorite artists. You feel me? He had been producing for Jay and for Beans and for all these other Rockefeller niggas and others since like 95 or 96. Niggas ain't know that about his story. All they saw was that this album blew up overnight and shifted the culture. You understand what I'm saying? So again, some of y'all really, man, need to just fall the fuck back, because that's what happens when you spend an exorbitant amount of your time just sitting around in a circle, jerking each other off for having the right opinions. Is that you're out of it? The irony is that is out of touch. Y'all the ones that is out of touch, man. Y'all the ones, genuinely, y'all are the ones that are out of touch. Because again, going to any barbershop in America right now where folk is having these conversations, and it's not the extreme of either side. For the most part, I'm gonna tell you what it is: indifference. Genuinely, it's indifference. Niggas don't care about the Grammys. Niggas been saying forever that the Grammys don't matter. You dig what I'm saying? At least since Macklemore, if not before, niggas been saying that the Grammys don't matter. The Grammys is just the industry's way of patting itself on the back for finding the next big commercially viable artist. And for y'all to sit up there and to pretend, again, it don't matter what she did before Alligator Bites. That is what the media is presenting her as. That is what her handlers are presenting her as. They're presenting her as, the quirky queer girl who made The Nile is a River, who put all of her insecurities out there for the world to see. That's what they are pushing and marketing her as. They are pushing her as the next great theater rapper. And again, you either got to be dumb or willfully obtuse to not see that. And again, niggas who are already not rocking with that wave, they see people not considering that. Again, she can do what y'all can blah blah blah. Y'all can bark at the mirror as much as you want to. And again, this isn't exclusively a Doechii conversation, but this is just a conversation with folk who don't know how to have a moment. This is a conversation about folk who feel like their opinion is more than just an opinion. You understand what I'm saying? Folk who feel like their opinion is indicative of some innate sense of superiority. As y'all niggas need to learn how to have your moment. You dig what I'm saying? While also acknowledging the discourse and responding to good faith with good faith, instead of being because what y'all do, and I'm gonna wrap this up. What y'all do is y'all wind up projecting your sense of self because somebody, you feel me, rejected your fade. You take that as it's trauma. It's like I'm rejecting your sense of self by saying that I'm not feeling it. Y'all did the same shit with the Super Bowl. Y'all did the same shit with Kendrick in the Super Bowl, man. And then wonder why niggas don't want to be about. Wonder why y'all get pushed to that corner of the internet and say, all right, y'all sit over there, you feel me, and have fun talking amongst yourselves. You understand what I'm saying? While we over here just enjoying the music. You feel me? So yeah, they consider that my response, nigga. And that's all I got to say about that. In the words of Forrest Gump. Deuces.